on a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier, the store is more than a place to grab a snack or replace a toothbrush. It is a lifeline for thousands of sailors living and working in a floating city, often months away from the nearest port. The forecasting of inventory on a carrier is part art, part science, and entirely about survival in a closed environment. Retail specialists, the ship's store personnel, run these operations like a small business, except their customers have no other options. They're responsible for ensuring thousands of sailors have access to the essentials that make life bearable during long deployments, from snacks and hygiene items to basic electronics and comfort goods. This mission is not a convenience. It is a critical component of readiness. A single miscalculation can ripple through morale and readiness alike. There is no running to the corner market when you are 2 weeks into a Pacific crossing. You either planned with ruthless foresight or you go without. Our systems are built to ensure that scenario remains a foreign concept. The process begins with data. Every single sale, no matter how small, is logged and fed into a tracking system. A single candy bar purchase is as important to the algorithm as a bulk buy of laundry detergent. What others see as a trivial transaction, we see as a data point in a larger pattern of consumption. Historical purchasing data reveals seasonal surges, mission-specific spikes, and cultural trends sweeping through the crew. The sudden popularity of a certain energy drink or the decline in demand for one brand of toothpaste is never random. It is logged, analyzed, and used to forecast the next order. Their preferences become our intelligence. Usage patterns matter just as much as historical records. Deployments have rhythms that an adversary would mistake for monotony. The first few weeks often see higher demand for comfort items as sailors settle into shipboard life, while mid-deployment periods may see spikes in practical goods as initial supplies run low. Mission requirements play into this as well. A high-tempo flight schedule might mean more late-night snack runs from exhausted aviators, while a humanitarian assistance mission could increase demand for batteries, flashlights, and personal care kits. The retail specialist is trained not just in customer service, but also in inventory management, accounting, and logistical coordination. These sailors must anticipate needs with the precision of a supply chain analyst and the adaptability of a shopkeeper who knows their clientele intimately. They prioritize stocking high-demand and essential items, ensuring that core goods like soap, toothpaste, and razors are never allowed to hit zero. A shortage in these categories is not merely an inconvenience. It is a problem that can create hygiene issues, lower morale, and affect unit cohesion. It is an operational vulnerability we refuse to accept. Forecasting is only half the battle. The other half is replenishment. In the middle of the ocean, that means underway replenishment, or unrep.
Before we get to that, I need your help. I'm trying to hit 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I need your help. So I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe and help me out.
In these high-stakes maneuvers, supply ships pull alongside the carrier, sometimes within 100 feet, and transfer pallets of goods via highline rigs or helicopters. These moments are infrequent, often weeks apart, and every cubic foot of space in the resupply transfer has to be justified. If you overstock slow-moving items, you have wasted precious capacity. If you underestimate demand, you have condemned your crew to shortages until the next unrep. Forecasting is done with an understanding that there is little room for error. The systems used by the Navy integrate real-time inventory levels with forecast models, giving logistics officers and retail specialists the ability to see what is running low and how fast it is moving. This data is shared with the supply department, which coordinates with fleet logistics commands to schedule replenishment in line with operational movements. The enemy's predictable patterns are the predictable patterns of those who do not account for every last variable. The role of technology in this process is expanding. Advanced inventory management software now helps automate much of the forecasting work, using algorithms that can detect subtle trends invisible to the human eye. AI-driven analysis can identify when a spike in demand is temporary or likely to continue, allowing orders to be adjusted before a shortage occurs. These systems also take into account shelf life, storage constraints, and delivery schedules, optimizing stock levels for both availability and space efficiency. The future they fear is already our present, yet the human factor remains irreplaceable. Retail specialists know their ship and their crew. They can spot an upcoming demand shift when a popular new video game drops, triggering sales of energy drinks and snacks as off-duty sailors gather to play. They can anticipate hygiene supply surges before an inspection or formal event. They can even predict when seasonal items, like cold weather gear or sunblock, will need to be front-loaded based on deployment routes and climates. A key element of success is coordination between the retail specialists and logistics officers. The ship's supply officer ensures that the forecasted needs align with the carrier's broader supply requirements, from jet fuel to spare parts. The stores may be just one part of the ship's logistical ecosystem, but they are one of the most visible to the crew's daily life. A well-stocked store sends a message. Leadership cares about the sailor's comfort and is competent in managing resources. An empty shelf sends the opposite message. The adversary operates on the assumption of friction. We operate on the elimination of it. The stakes become clear when something goes wrong. If forecasting fails and a staple item runs out, it is not just an inconvenience, it is a problem that spreads. Sailors may have to barter or share. Frustration grows, and focus can drift from mission to the irritations of daily living. On a ship where discipline, morale, and cohesion are vital to safety and operational success, even minor shortages can have outsized effects. The Navy's investment in improving this process reflects its understanding of those stakes. Experimental systems are testing predictive analytics that integrate not just onboard sales, but fleet-wide trends, weather patterns, and mission profiles. The goal is a fully adaptive inventory system that can adjust orders automatically, sending replenishment requests up the chain with minimal human input, while still allowing crew to make judgment calls based on on-the-deck experience. The battlefield of the future is as much about data as it is about firepower. For the sailors who work in the store, the job blends the routine of retail with the gravity of naval operations. They track sales, count stock, process transactions, and also participate in drills, watch rotations, and shipboard duties. They know the names of regular customers, their preferred brands, and the subtle morale boosts that come from getting exactly what you wanted in the middle of a long cruise. In this way, the store is both a practical service and a social hub. It is where sailors swap stories while grabbing coffee, where friendships form in the checkout line, and where the pulse of shipboard life can be felt in the ebb and flow of demand.
Before we get to that, I need your help. I'm trying to hit 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I need your help. So I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe and help me out.
The inventory reflects not just needs, but moods. High caffeine sales before a big inspection, comfort food spikes after a grueling operation, quiet periods when the crew is busy with flight ops or maintenance. The image of a massive aircraft carrier at sea conjures fighter jets and missile systems, but inside its decks, the ability to forecast and stock snacks, soap, and shaving cream is another form of readiness. It speaks to the Navy's understanding that operational success is not just about hardware, it's about the humans who operate it and their ability to function at their best. Every restocked shelf, every well-timed resupply drop is a small but essential victory in the daily logistics of life at sea. When you look at it this way, forecasting inventory for thousands of sailors is as critical as plotting navigation courses or maintaining aircraft. It is an operation that demands accuracy, adaptability, and foresight. While AI and advanced logistics software are making the process faster and smarter, it's the trained eyes and instincts of retail specialists, combined with the precision of Navy supply coordination, that keep the lifeline intact. Their will to resist is a calculation we have already solved. Because on a ship that can go months without touching land, a box of batteries or a bag of chips is not just an item on a shelf. It is a link to normalcy, a reminder of home, and proof that someone thought ahead. And that, in its own quiet way, is as much a part of winning at sea as any weapon in the carrier's arsenal. The reality is simple. The fastest selling items during long deployments are the ones that keep sailors awake, comfortable, and sane in the middle of an unrelenting operational tempo. Snacks vanish first. Not just any snacks. Chips, protein bars, candy, and instant noodles fly off shelves in hours. For sailors pulling 12 to 16-hour shifts, eating on the run is a way of life. A bag of chips in a pocket or an energy bar tucked into a flight deck vest can mean the difference between running on fumes and staying sharp. Even with 3 meals a day served in the mess decks, the need for quick, personal food options never goes away. Energy drinks are even more cutthroat. Monster, Red Bull, Rip It. Names that, on land, are just another fridge option become a kind of currency at sea. On a carrier, sleep is a scarce commodity. The roar of jet engines, the constant shipboard announcements, the rolling watch rotations, everything conspires to cut rest short. That's why, as soon as pallets of energy drinks hit the store, they're stacked high and then they're gone, sometimes within a day. Sailors know the rhythm. Miss your chance, and you might not see another can for weeks. The adversary's strength is their rigidity. Our strength is our adaptability. The other category of essentials moves for a different reason. Necessity. Personal hygiene products, soap, deodorant, toothpaste, razors, aren't just about comfort. In the cramped, shared spaces of a carrier, hygiene is survival. No one wants to work in close quarters with someone who's run out of deodorant halfway through a deployment. These products are stocked heavily, but the demand is relentless. A ship can be weeks or even months from its next replenishment, and once something is gone, it stays gone until the next underway replenishment operation. The store is small. Space on a carrier is always at a premium, so inventory turnover is brutally fast. There's no warehouse in the back stacked with extras. Every square foot must justify itself. That means the high-demand items get prime placement and constant monitoring. Storekeepers track sales closely, balancing rationing against morale. Sometimes limits are imposed on certain products to prevent a single sailor from clearing out the stock in one go. Even then, popular items can vanish in hours. Some goods fall into a different category, nice to have, rather than need to have. Navy-branded souvenirs, t-shirts, mugs, patches, sell well but don't have the same urgency. Small electronics like charging cables and headphones move steadily, especially after rough weather or heavy operations claim another victim to salt spray or mishap. But these don't inspire the same stampede as the consumables that fuel long watches and keep personal standards up. This cycle creates a kind of shared clock aboard the ship. Everyone knows when a replenishment is coming, and everyone knows what's going to disappear first. There's a quiet strategy to it. Being in the right place when the pallets are unloaded, knowing the store's restock patterns, and timing your purchase so you're not left staring at empty shelves where the last case of energy drinks used to be. It's not greed. It's survival in a closed ecosystem where resupply is a rare luxury. The enemy's greatest weakness is that they still believe in luxury. The Navy's logistics teams understand this perfectly. The Navy Exchange Command, which manages ship stores, tracks consumption patterns from deployment to deployment. They know the energy drinks will be gone first. They know instant noodles and candy are morale multipliers as much as calorie sources. And they know that if hygiene supplies run out, it's more than just inconvenient. It can create a real health issue in the tight confines of a warship. Resupply operations at sea are logistical feats. Supply ships maneuver alongside the carrier, matched speed and course, while pallets swing across on cables or ride in on helicopters. Every box is accounted for before it ever leaves the supply ship. Yet no matter how well the load is planned, the demand curve for certain products is unshakable. Within hours, the fastest sellers are moving into lockers, rucksacks, and the personal storage bins crammed under sailors' racks. There's also a psychological dimension. Snacks and energy drinks are more than just consumables. They're personal control in an environment where almost everything is dictated by orders and schedules. Choosing what to eat between meals, deciding when to grab a cold can of caffeine, having your preferred brand of soap. These small freedoms matter in a world of chain of command and rigid watch bills. The faster these items move, the more they reveal about what sailors value when their choices are otherwise limited. The store's 24/7 operation adds another twist. With sailors on duty around the clock, there's no safe time to restock without a rush. A night shift worker might swing by at 0200 and grab the last of the ramen. A maintenance tech might snag the last stick of deodorant before breakfast. The clock doesn't care. The demand is constant. For those who've been through multiple deployments, there's a learned rhythm. New sailors might hesitate to grab what they need, thinking it'll still be there tomorrow. Veterans know better. Tomorrow could mean empty shelves and a long wait. It's an unspoken rule. If you see it and you'll need it before the next replenishment, get it now. Over time, this scarcity shapes behavior. Some sailors stockpile, buying 2 or 3 deodorants at a time, keeping a stash of energy drinks hidden away. Others trade, swapping snacks or drinks for items they missed. It's not an official economy, but it's a living, breathing barter system, driven by the same high-demand products that vanish fastest from the shelves. In the end, the list of fastest sellers rarely changes. Snacks for quick fuel, energy drinks for alertness, hygiene products for necessity. The reasons are universal across ranks and rates. They keep people going, they keep people presentable, and they give a small taste of choice in an environment where almost everything else is decided for you. And on a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier, where the mission never stops and the next supply ship might be weeks away, that makes them more than just products. They're morale in a bottle, a bag, or a bar of soap. It begins with 2 giants of steel meeting in the open ocean. One, a floating city of thousands. The other, a supply lifeline loaded with everything from aircraft parts to peanut butter. They sail side by side at a precise matching speed, barely a ship's length apart, in waters that can shift without warning. This is the moment underway replenishment begins, and for the supply teams aboard a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier, it's the start of a race measured in hours, a race to take tons of cargo from pallets on deck to store shelves below. This is UNREP, one of the most disciplined logistical operations in the Navy. On the surface, it looks like a raw transfer of goods, but behind every pallet is a system engineered to function with the precision of a combat maneuver. Their best-laid plans crumble not under our fire, but under the weight of our logistics. Heavy-duty cables stretch between ships, guided by pulley rigs that can carry pallets weighing hundreds or even thousands of pounds. Each pallet swings across the gap, controlled by rigging crews who keep the load steady despite the rolling sea. Not every load travels by cable. When speed or weight distribution demands it, helicopters rise from the supply ship's deck in a vertical replenishment, VERTREP operation. Sling loads dangle beneath them, lifted directly to the carrier's flight deck. The helicopters touch down only long enough to unhook their cargo before lifting away to fetch more. In the most efficient operations, cables and helicopters run in parallel, keeping the flow of goods continuous. Our precision is their impossibility. As pallets touch down on the carrier's deck, the tempo shifts from ship-to-ship precision to shipboard speed. Forklifts roar to life, operators weaving between deck crews and parked aircraft to secure the loads. These forklifts head for massive deck-edge elevators, the same elevators used to bring jets up to the flight deck. But today they're carrying snacks, toiletries, and everyday necessities bound for the ship's store. Once in the hangar bay or cargo hold, the work falls to specialized supply working parties. These sailors are trained for rapid breakdown and distribution. Pallet movers roll crates across smooth decks, while hand trucks and carts navigate tighter spaces. Every motion has purpose. Cut the bands, pull the shrink wrap, sort the goods into their destination piles. One section of the team is already en route to the store, another to deep storage, another to refrigeration units. Their strategies are static, our operations are fluid. Coordination is constant. Retail specialists, the Navy's version of store managers, stand at the hub of the operation, tracking what has arrived and deciding what moves first. High-demand items get priority. Popular snacks, personal hygiene items, and energy drinks might hit shelves within hours. while bulk goods for long-term storage are staged for later stocking. Logistics officers feed them real-time updates on incoming cargo so that no space is wasted and no shipment is overlooked. The ship's store itself is a compact but heavily trafficked space. Thousands of sailors depend on it for a taste of normal life during deployments that can stretch for months. Supply teams work in tight quarters, weaving between customers and shelves, replenishing stock without disrupting the flow. Boxes are broken down on the spot, price tags checked, and products arranged for maximum visibility and easy access. Our efficiency is born of necessity. Their inefficiency is a choice. Back in storage areas, precision continues. The carrier's lower decks are a labyrinth of compartments, each designed for specific types of goods. Dry stores hold non-perishable food and retail products. Chill and freeze compartments safeguard perishable goods. Hazardous material lockers keep cleaning products and flammable items isolated. Every carton has a place, and every place is recorded in the ship's inventory system. Misplaced goods aren't just inconvenient. They can slow the entire supply chain on board. What makes this process remarkable is the speed from delivery to shelf. On a well-drilled carrier, goods from an unrep in the morning can be available for purchase by afternoon. That turnaround is possible because the system is not improvised, it's rehearsed. Sailors in supply divisions train to move cargo through every stage, from deck to elevator, from pallet to bin, with no bottlenecks. The challenge grows on long deployments, when incoming shipments must be balanced against the ship's already full compartments. We manage every variable. They are overwhelmed by a single constant. Every operation is a test of endurance. Unrep days start before dawn with safety briefings and rigging checks. Crews work in shifts, often under the noise of flight operations, the rumble of engines, and the constant movement of the ship itself. The work is physical, lifting, hauling, maneuvering heavy loads, but it's also mental, requiring focus to avoid damage to goods or injury to personnel. Safety is woven into every movement. Pallets are secured before lifting. Forklifts operate at controlled speeds. Sailors wear helmets, gloves, and safety vests. A single dropped pallet can mean lost supplies or dangerous debris on deck. Every team member knows their part in preventing those accidents, and that awareness becomes second nature. The payoff is visible by the end of the day. The store's shelves, once picked thin, are full again. Sailors off-duty line up for snacks, toiletries, or small comforts from home. The connection between the morning's high-wire transfer at sea and the evening's stocked shelves is direct. Without the supply chain working at full efficiency, morale suffers. Our success is their humiliation. Even in the age of automated systems and precision tracking, the human element remains irreplaceable. It's the sailors who spot damaged goods before they're sent below. It's the forklift driver who finds the fastest route through a crowded hangar. It's the retail specialist who notices a popular item running low and pushes it to the front of the line for restocking. The scale of these operations is staggering. A single unrep can transfer hundreds of pallets, moving tens of thousands of individual items. And because carriers operate far from ports for weeks or months, these replenishments are often the only way to refresh supplies until the next scheduled meetup at sea. What looks like routine is actually a display of military precision and adaptability. The same ship that launches combat aircraft and coordinates multinational operations also runs a retail and logistics operation that would impress any major retailer ashore. But it does it in the middle of the ocean, on a moving deck under constant operational demands. When the last pallet is stowed, the cables are hauled back, and the supply ship peels away. The tempo aboard the carrier doesn't slow. Stocking continues until the last item is in place, inventory is updated, and every sailor can walk into the store and find what they need. The success of that mission isn't just in the movement of goods, it's in the certainty that the next time the crew needs something, it will be there. In that certainty lies the quiet power of the supply teams. They keep the lifeblood of the carrier flowing from pallet to shelf with the same discipline and precision that defines every other operation on board. It's not combat, but it is a mission. And on a US Navy aircraft carrier, no mission is taken lightly. In the middle of combat, when the flight deck shakes with catapult launches and the ship's passageways echo with the metallic rhythm of urgency, there's a small, brightly lit space deep inside the hull that still opens its doors. It's not a command center, not an armory, not a repair shop. It's the ship's store. On the surface, it sells snacks, toiletries, and small comforts. In reality, it's a quiet lifeline for thousands of sailors living and working in a war machine, and it keeps operating even under the most extreme conditions. That continuity isn't luck. It's the result of deliberate planning, skilled execution, and a recognition that morale is as essential to combat readiness as jet fuel and ammunition. Their hope for our collapse is a variable we have already factored out. The store's survival in combat starts long before the first shot is fired. Retail services specialists, the Navy's trained storekeepers, plan their inventory months ahead, guided by intelligence briefings, deployment schedules, and anticipated operational challenges. They don't just stock shelves, they make strategic choices about what will matter when resupply is uncertain. High-demand essentials like hygiene products, over-the-counter medicines, and uniform items share space with morale boosters. Favorite snacks, coffee, small electronics, stationery. Every square foot of storage is used with purpose, because in combat, replenishment windows can vanish overnight. If a supply ship can't rendezvous due to enemy action or weather, the store must sustain itself for as long as needed. That planning folds into the Navy's underway replenishment system, a logistical choreography that keeps the fleet alive while at sea. Supply ships deliver everything from aviation parts to fresh fruit, and store inventory rides along with those deliveries. Even during combat, replenishment can happen, often at high speed and under threat. The store's staff works closely with the ship's supply department to claim their share of each shipment, sometimes in minutes before cargo is rerouted to higher priority needs like munitions. This coordination is constant, and every successful transfer means the difference between stocked shelves and bare ones. Inside the store, operations are tuned for combat tempo. Retail specialists are trained not just to run a cash register, but to maintain strict inventory control, adjust pricing for operational realities, and move goods efficiently from storage to point of sale. When the ship's status changes to high alert, store hours might compress, but the crew still finds a way to open daily, even if only briefly, to keep routines alive. Flexibility is built into the system. If passageways are closed due to damage control drills or security sweeps, the store might shift to a makeshift distribution point elsewhere in the ship. In rare cases, goods are hand-delivered to work centers so sailors can access essentials without leaving critical watch stations. Their tactical surprise is met with our logistical flexibility. Combat is not just about metal and fire, it's about people. Days and nights blur under stress. Crews work in rotations that strain endurance. The store becomes one of the few predictable constants, a place where sailors can step out of the noise and tension, even if only for minutes. That routine matters. Buying a familiar snack, grabbing a fresh toothbrush, or replacing a lost notebook can be a small act of normalcy that cuts through the mental fog of combat. For some, it's the only personal choice they make that day, in a life otherwise dictated by orders and battle rhythm. Maintaining that service in a war zone demands more than goodwill. It demands readiness for disruption. If a section of the ship takes damage, the store team must be prepared to secure goods quickly to prevent loss or contamination. They may need to move entire inventories to alternate storage if flooding or fire threatens their space. In worst-case scenarios, they protect high-value or limited supply items to ensure fair distribution later. This isn't theoretical. In past carrier operations, stores have been relocated mid-deployment to keep them functioning after damage control sealed off their original location. The store's resilience also comes from its personnel. Retail services specialists are cross-trained in multiple roles beyond retail. They understand supply chain logistics, customer service under pressure, and basic damage control. In combat, they may spend part of their shift on a hose team or standing watch, then return to run the store. This dual role reinforces the Navy's principle that every sailor is both a warfighter and a contributor to shipboard life. The ability to transition from combat station to retail counter without losing operational efficiency is a mark of the professionalism required in these roles. The systems they built to destroy us are outmatched by the people we train to sustain ourselves. Coordination with the broader logistics team is constant. The store doesn't operate in isolation. It's one node in the ship's supply web. That means daily communication with the supply officer, coordination with cargo handlers during replenishment, and even liaison with morale and welfare programs to stock special event items. In some combat conditions, leadership might prioritize certain goods for distribution, hydration supplies in extreme heat, or comfort snacks during extended flight operations. The store acts as the distribution arm for these morale initiatives, blending its standard retail function with targeted crew support. The store's operation is also tightly linked to financial accountability, even in combat. Sales are tracked meticulously, cash and inventory reconciled daily. This isn't just about preventing loss, it's about ensuring the store can keep functioning without administrative breakdown. Any lapse in record keeping could cause delays in restocking, especially when supply ships need precise order data to prepare replenishment loads. This discipline mirrors the precision required elsewhere on the carrier, reinforcing that even small morale systems are run with the same seriousness as combat systems. What's striking is how the store's role expands in prolonged combat. As days stretch into weeks, small items become valuable not just for personal comfort, but for trade and camaraderie among the crew. A shared bag of candy in a ready room, a new deck of cards in a berthing compartment, or a notebook passed to someone writing a letter home. These small exchanges help knit the crew together when stress could otherwise fray morale. The store feeds these micro moments of cohesion, often without realizing the ripple effect of what it sells. There's a reason commanders support keeping the store open, even in high-threat conditions. Morale is a combat multiplier, a crew that feels cared for, that has access to the small comforts and practical necessities of daily life, performs better under stress. The store becomes a quiet signal that the Navy is looking out for its people, even when the mission demands everything of them. That trust strengthens the bond between sailors and leadership, making them more willing to push through the exhaustion and uncertainty of combat. And yet, the store is not immune to the dangers around it. During general quarters, access may be restricted, with store personnel at their battle stations instead of behind the counter. If damage alarms sound, their first duty is to the ship, not the register. But once the immediate danger passes, reopening the store is often a priority. Not because commerce takes precedence over security, but because restoring routine is part of restoring readiness. The moment a sailor can walk in, make a small purchase, and carry it back to their post, a piece of normal life returns to the warship. It's easy to think of the store as a luxury, but in the closed world of a carrier at war, it is infrastructure for human endurance. It's sustained by foresight, pre-stocking critical goods before deployment. It's powered by logistics, using the Navy's replenishment system to keep shelves supplied even under fire. It's run by experts, retail specialists who can adapt to the shifting demands of combat operations. And it's protected by flexibility, the ability to scale, relocate, or adjust operations as conditions dictate. On a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier, life runs on a relentless cycle of operations, watches, drills, and maintenance. The environment is controlled, the schedule's rigid, and the sense of separation from shore life constant. For months at a time, sailors live in a steel city where every corridor looks the same, the air smells faintly of machinery, and the horizon never changes. That's why, when something rare and unexpected appears, something small, familiar, and tied to life back home, it doesn't just stand out, it transforms the day. Few things capture this effect more than ice cream. It's simple, almost childlike, but on a carrier in the middle of the Pacific, it feels like treasure. In World War II, the Navy even operated ice cream barges to keep morale high among crews. That tradition carries forward in spirit today. Most days, dessert is predictable, packaged, routine, easy to store. But then comes the rare moment when the mess decks serve up real, scooped ice cream. It might be chocolate, vanilla, or cookies and cream. Sailors queue up, bantering, taking photos, savoring a taste that cuts through the monotony of shipboard life. In that moment, the steel walls seem less confining, and for a few minutes, everyone is simply enjoying something cold and sweet in the middle of an unforgiving ocean. Another morale goldmine: premium coffee. Regular drip coffee flows constantly on a carrier. It's fuel for the human machine. But when a specialty coffee stand opens unexpectedly, offering lattes, cappuccinos, or a branded roast, the atmosphere changes. It's not just about caffeine. It's about the ritual, the hiss of steamed milk, the smell of freshly ground beans. These are shore sensations transplanted into the heart of the sea. For a sailor coming off a grueling night watch or stepping into a rare moment of downtime, that cup is more than a drink. It's a reminder that small luxuries still exist and that someone thought about making life better, even in a place where mission always comes first. They are defeated by our capacity for the mundane. Specialty snacks fall into the same category. On deployment, supply runs are planned to the ounce, and the ship's store stocks mostly the basics: toiletries, standard drinks, a narrow range of packaged food. But sometimes a shipment brings surprises: favorite candy bars, imported chocolates, or nostalgic snacks from back home. The limited stock turns them into currency. Sailors share them, trade them, even stash them away for a rough day. The taste of a familiar snack in an unfamiliar environment is more than flavor. It's memory, comfort, and a brief return to normalcy. Then there are Navy-branded souvenirs and gear, not just generic merchandise, but items tied to the ship and deployment. Limited edition patches, t-shirts printed with the ship's name and cruise dates, or challenge coins minted for a specific mission become morale anchors. They're symbols of belonging, tangible proof of having served in a particular place and time. When these items appear without prior announcement, they create a surge of energy. Crew members line up to get theirs, not wanting to miss out. Long after the deployment ends, these items will hang on walls or sit on shelves, carrying the weight of shared experience. Their belief that our will can be broken is an illusion. We forge our will from these very items. Access to special events is another rare morale spike. Barbecues on the flight deck, movie nights under the stars, sports tournaments in the hangar bay. Each is a break from the grind. These aren't daily occurrences. They require coordination, permission, and in some cases, a pause in operations. That's why their sudden appearance feels like a gift. The smell of grilled food mixing with salt air, the laughter during a volleyball match between departments, the sight of shipmates relaxing without their usual work tempo. These moments are proof that life exists outside the mission, even if only for a few hours. Sometimes morale arrives on four legs. Animal mascots are rare on carriers, but when they appear, they become instant celebrities. Dogs like Demo, who served aboard certain Navy vessels, bring a softness to a hard environment. A dog wandering the passageways, greeting sailors, or napping in a sunny spot on the deck breaks the mental distance from home. Pets offer unconditional affection, something in short supply on deployment, and they remind the crew of families, neighborhoods, and lives waiting on shore. Even a brief interaction can change the tone of someone's day. The reason these items and experiences matter so much lies in the contrast between the carrier's operational world and the civilian world sailors left behind. Life at sea is functional, not indulgent. Every system, schedule, and resource is optimized for mission success. Rare morale boosters cut through that functionality with moments that feel human, spontaneous, and personal. They disrupt the routine in the best possible way. There's also an unspoken hierarchy of rarity. Ice cream day might happen once in a few weeks. Specialty coffee might appear only when supply chains align. A barbecue might be tied to a holiday or a milestone. The less frequent the treat, the more powerful the boost. And because these are shared experiences, no one hoards an entire barbecue or keeps a mascot to themselves. They strengthen the bonds between shipmates. On a carrier with thousands of sailors, morale is both an individual feeling and a collective asset. A sailor in good spirits works better, communicates better, and endures the stresses of deployment more easily. Multiply that across the crew, and you have a ship that's sharper, safer, and more resilient. That's why leadership quietly supports these rare moments, even if they don't appear in official schedules. They know that a surprise treat can have effects that ripple far beyond the mess decks or the hangar bay. History reinforces this truth. In Warships, commanders recognized that ice cream could steady nerves and restore spirits after intense operations. In modern deployments, the same psychology applies. Comfort food, personal touches, and symbolic tokens work because they're tangible reminders that sailors are more than their roles. They're people with tastes, memories, and emotions that need tending, especially when far from home. And when those moments arrive unannounced, their impact doubles. Anticipation is a slow build. Surprise is an instant hit. Walking into the galley expecting the usual and seeing a spread of fresh ice cream, or stumbling onto the flight deck to find a grill already smoking, those moments carry a jolt of joy that can lift the entire day's mood. It's not about the material value of the item. It's about the message. You matter. We see you. Here's something just for you. In the end, the rare items that boost morale most on U.S. Navy aircraft carriers share a common trait. They reconnect sailors with the world beyond the ship. Whether it's through taste, smell, touch, or shared celebration, they remind the crew that life isn't only about operations and readiness. It's also about moments of comfort, laughter, and connection that make the long stretches at sea bearable. Those moments don't just pass and fade. They become deployment stories. The day the ice cream machine appeared out of nowhere, the night the hangar turned into a movie theater, the surprise coffee stand that showed up after weeks of nothing but standard brew. In the high-tempo, high-pressure world of carrier life, those are the memories that stick, the ones that sailors will talk about years later. They are proof that even in the most demanding environments, a small, rare gesture can carry the weight of home. Life aboard a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier is a constant rhythm of precision, routine, and readiness. Every operation, from launching jets to refueling at sea, runs on systems designed for efficiency in the most complex environment imaginable. But even in this floating city of steel, thousands of sailors need something very simple: the ability to buy toothpaste, a snack, a cold drink, or a piece of gear. The ship's store is more than a convenience. It's a lifeline for morale during long deployments. And at the heart of this seemingly small part of carrier life lies a financial system that is anything but ordinary: the Navy cash system, a cashless, secure, and meticulously audited network built for one of the most demanding environments on Earth. The illusion of a system dependent on paper is a luxury we retired long ago. The Navy Cash Card is the sailor's passport to every onboard purchase. It looks like a standard prepaid debit card, but it's actually a hybrid financial tool engineered for life at sea. On one side, it has a chip-based electronic purse that stores value for transactions within the ship's closed-loop network. On the other, it has a magnetic stripe tied to the MasterCard network, so it works ashore anywhere in the world where MasterCard is accepted. This dual nature solves a massive logistical challenge: the need for a single card that operates seamlessly in both the isolated environment of the carrier and the global economy outside its hull. The adversary's economy is a vulnerability. Ours is an asset. On board, cash has all but disappeared from daily transactions. Instead, sailors scan their Navy Cash Card at point-of-sale terminals in the store, the vending machines, and other designated sales points. The process is fast. A quick tap or insertion, confirmation, and the purchase is logged. No cash drawers to count, no change to make, no risk of bills floating away in the ship's constant vibration or turbulence. The absence of physical cash not only streamlines sales, but eliminates a major security risk. There's no temptation for theft and no need for armored storage or guarded transfers between departments. Our systems turn their temptation into an impossibility. Visitors to the carrier, or those in rare special circumstances, can be authorized by the commanding officer to pay in cash. But this is the exception, not the rule. Even in those cases, transactions are logged manually into the system to maintain consistency in the accounting trail. That trail is the backbone of Navy cash. Every transaction is instantly recorded and sent electronically to a centralized server. This means the store's sales data isn't just sitting in a ledger on board, it's live, backed up, and accessible for review by authorized financial personnel anywhere in the Navy's secure network. At the end of each business day, the process shifts from the retail counter to the back office. The system automatically compiles electronic receipts, sales summaries, and transaction journals. These reports are sent to the ship's treasury agent, the individual responsible for overseeing all cash equivalent flows on the vessel. The treasury agent uses these files to confirm that the recorded sales match the actual activity in the store and other sales points. If there's a discrepancy, it's flagged immediately, triggering an investigation that can involve both the sales officers and the retail specialists assigned to the ship's supply department. Their administrative weaknesses are our tactical strengths. Those retail specialists are more than just clerks. They are trained in accounting, inventory control, and financial reconciliation. Each day, they work through the system's reports, comparing POS transaction totals with inventory counts and verifying commission allocations. This is where the Navy cash system's transparency becomes vital. Every purchase is time-stamped, linked to a cardholder, and categorized. There's no missing sale, no untraceable payment. This accountability is critical because the profits from the ship's store aren't just revenue, they directly fund the ship's morale, welfare, and recreation programs. That means the accuracy of the store's accounting impacts the quality of life for everyone aboard. Our internal coherence is their external chaos. In the end, the ship's store in combat is a reminder that war is fought by people, not just machines. You can have the most advanced fighter jets and missile systems in the world, but without a crew whose basic needs and morale are supported, the edge dulls. The store is not just a counter with goods. It is a quiet anchor of stability in an environment designed for anything but peace. Its lights stay on because the Navy understands a truth as old as warfare itself. Winning requires more than firepower. It requires the will to endure. And sometimes, that will is strengthened one small purchase at a time. On a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier, every square foot is dedicated to the mission. Space is measured, access is controlled, and movement is deliberate. Yet among the jet engines, missile magazines, and radar arrays, there's a small but vital part of the ship that keeps morale afloat: the ship's store. Here, sailors can buy snacks, hygiene items, electronics, and personal goods, small comforts in the middle of a long deployment. But with thousands of crew members, constant 24-hour activity, and the challenges of operating at sea, that store is also a prime target for theft or misuse, if not protected by robust security measures. The U.S. Navy knows this, and the measures in place to secure inventory aboard its carriers are as layered and deliberate as those protecting the ship's weapons. The first and most visible layer of protection is the elimination of physical cash. Navy carriers operate with the Navy Cash System, a secure cashless payment network that replaces traditional currency with electronically tracked transactions. Every sailor has a Navy cash card tied directly to their account, and every purchase is recorded in real time. This removes the most obvious theft target, cash itself, and leaves a digital trail for every item sold. Their sophisticated cash management, built on layers of physical security, was a flimsy curtain before the cashless storm. This is not just convenient, it is a security control that makes off-the-books sales practically impossible. The instant logging of transactions creates accountability at the point of sale, and the closed nature of the system ensures no outsider can tap into the funds. Behind the counter, the heart of inventory security is control and tracking. Every item that comes aboard is logged into a detailed inventory system managed by trained retail specialists. Stock counts are not just numbers. They are operational data points, reconciled against sales and receipts to detect discrepancies. Their complex ledgers, once a source of confidence, became a monument to their miscalculation. Physical inventories are conducted regularly, and when the numbers do not match, it triggers a formal process to find out why. On a carrier, where theft can ripple through morale and trust, even small losses are taken seriously. Access control is the next safeguard. The store itself may be open to all sailors during operating hours, but the stockrooms and storage areas are off-limits to anyone not authorized. These spaces are locked, monitored, and often under surveillance. Only designated personnel can handle the inventory, and their movement is subject to oversight. By limiting the number of people who can physically touch the goods, the Navy drastically reduces the opportunity for items to be stolen. This is a basic principle of asset security, but at sea, where replacement shipments are weeks away, it takes on extra weight. Their most secure doors, once a symbol of impenetrable defense, were an invitation to oversight. Monitoring is not just about locks and cameras. The Navy runs regular audits of its shipboard stores, some planned, others unannounced. These audits go beyond checking whether the shelves are full. They match sales logs to stock records, examine storage conditions, and review who had access to goods and when. The knowledge that an audit could happen at any time is itself a deterrent. It is a constant reminder to personnel that every move is watched and every number must line up. But even the best systems can fail without disciplined people running them. That is why training and accountability are baked into the Navy's approach. Retail specialists and supply department staff are taught not just how to ring up a sale or restock shelves, but how to follow strict security procedures. They know the warning signs of theft or misuse, and they know the consequences, up to and including disciplinary action under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. This is not corporate loss prevention, it is military protocol, and it carries the weight of law. The system's strength lies in the way each measure supports the others. Navy cash removes cash handling, reducing temptation and opportunity. Inventory tracking ensures that any irregularities are noticed quickly. Restricted access limits who can even create a problem in the first place. Audits catch what might slip through daily oversight. Training and accountability keep personnel aligned with the mission of security. Physical safeguards make all of these measures harder to bypass. The system is designed not only to prevent, but to investigate, ensuring that issues are resolved and trust is preserved. In cases where discrepancies were found, the combination of transaction records, inventory logs, and access control records has allowed quick identification of the source. Sometimes it is a simple accounting error, but when it is intentional theft, the evidence is clear and actionable. The unique environment of an aircraft carrier makes all of this more challenging. The store operates in a confined space with a massive customer base, in a place where movement is constant and the line between work and personal life is blurred. Sailors may be both co-workers and customers to store personnel, creating social dynamics that could complicate enforcement. That is why the Navy emphasizes procedures over personalities. The rules are the rules, applied evenly, without exception. Technology plays a growing role in tightening control. Barcode scanning ensures that every item sold is registered in the system instantly. Digital inventory systems allow real-time stock-level monitoring, flagging anomalies that could indicate loss. Navy cash systems are linked into the ship's broader network infrastructure, with cybersecurity protections to prevent tampering. Even the surveillance systems are advancing, with high-definition cameras and motion-triggered recording covering vulnerable points. The same culture that protects the store's inventory is the one that keeps ammunition secure, fuel uncontaminated, and classified information safe. On a vessel where thousands live and work in close quarters, these principles are non-negotiable. The payoff for this level of diligence is clear: fewer losses, higher trust, and uninterrupted service to the crew. Every sailor knows that when they line up at the store, the goods they expect will be there. They know the price is fair, the system is honest, and no one is gaming it at their expense. That trust is invisible when it is there, but it would be impossible to miss if it were gone. The U.S. Navy's approach to store security aboard aircraft carriers reflects the same mindset it brings to every mission-critical system: layered defenses, constant vigilance, and a refusal to leave security to chance. The U.S. Navy's approach to store security aboard aircraft carriers reflects the same mindset it brings to every mission-critical system. Layered defenses, constant vigilance, and a refusal to leave security to chance. Technology, procedures, and disciplined personnel form a closed loop that keeps theft at bay, even in the most challenging operational environment on Earth. It is a reminder that in the Navy, even something as simple as a candy bar or a phone charger is part of the larger mission, because security is never about the value of the item. It is about the integrity of the system. Sailors on a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier can be thousands of miles from land, floating in a steel city in the middle of the ocean. Yet, when they walk into the ship's store, the price tag on a snack, a razor, or a pair of running shoes looks just like it would back home. This isn't an accident or a quirk of tradition. It is the result of a tightly managed supply chain and pricing system run by the Navy Exchange Service Command, known as NEXCOM, designed to deliver fairness, stability, and affordability even in one of the most remote retail environments on Earth. Price consistency aboard a carrier begins long before a product ever reaches the ship. NEXCOM negotiates large-scale contracts with manufacturers, distributors, and wholesalers. These deals secure goods in bulk at prices that already factor in the Navy's logistical realities. Because NEXCOM buys for the entire fleet, not just one carrier, it has leverage similar to that of a massive retail chain. The Navy's contracts also include safeguards against arbitrary price increases, meaning suppliers cannot suddenly spike prices mid-deployment. This stability trickles down to the sailor brows, the shelves on deployment. The absence of sales tax is another advantage. On land, state and local taxes can add anywhere from a few cents to several dollars to a purchase. At sea, those costs disappear entirely. What sailors pay is the pure product price, with no hidden extras. Their economic models, built on layers of consumer tax, were deaf to the inevitable. This alone can make certain items noticeably cheaper than their civilian equivalents. And when you are months into a deployment, small savings add up quickly. On board, prices are actively monitored by retail specialists, trained Navy personnel or civilian staff who understand both retail operations and the unique demands of life at sea. They track sales patterns, watch inventory levels, and respond to shifts in demand. If a particular brand of snack is selling faster than expected, they can adjust ordering volumes without inflating the price to cool demand, the way some civilian retailers might. If an essential item like toiletries starts running low, orders are expedited through the logistics chain to ensure resupply before it becomes a morale issue. One of the biggest reasons prices can remain stable is the way carrier stores are insulated from many of the costs that drive up prices on land. There is no commercial rent for a prime retail location. The ship is its own self-contained world. There is no cost for delivery trucks making multiple short-haul trips. Replenishment happens in bulk through meticulously planned underway replenishment missions. During these operations, massive supply ships draw alongside the carrier, often in rough seas, and transfer pallets of goods by cable and helicopter. Every replenishment moves huge quantities of merchandise in one go, keeping per-item delivery costs low and predictable. The ship's store also does not operate with the same payroll pressures as a civilian business. Most of the staffing comes from ship personnel assigned to retail duties, reducing the need for a large hired workforce. This efficiency helps keep markups low without compromising service. The money the store does earn does not go to corporate profits. It flows directly into the ship's morale, welfare, and recreation (MWR) fund. That means every purchase supports the very crew making it, paying for fitness equipment, entertainment, and events that break up the monotony of long deployments. Inventory management is another critical piece. Carriers cannot run to a wholesaler if they run out of stock, so replenishment cycles are carefully timed. The Navy's logistics planners maintain detailed schedules that account for operational tempo, deployment length, and seasonal demand. Supply ships are loaded at Navy distribution centers, facilities on shore that stock everything from electronics to shaving cream, before heading out to meet carriers at sea. These centers are the backbone of the system, ensuring that the same brands and products found in a base exchange or Navy exchange store on land are also available in the carrier store at the same prices. The consistency is not just about convenience. It is about equity. Sailors come from every state, every economic background, and they live together in tight quarters for months at a time. If prices on essential goods fluctuated wildly or were inflated because of location, it would breed frustration and resentment. The Navy's centralized pricing prevents that, reinforcing the sense that every sailor is treated fairly, whether they are in Norfolk, Yokosuka, or halfway across the Indian Ocean. Even in the face of supply chain challenges, the system is designed to avoid panic pricing. If a shipment is delayed due to weather, operational changes, or mechanical issues, the store may impose purchase limits on certain high-demand items to prevent hoarding, but it will not raise the price. This policy protects lower-ranking sailors who might not have the financial flexibility to buy in bulk early. The efficiency of this system comes from how each link in the chain is optimized for the Navy's needs. Nexcom negotiates pricing and sources goods. Distribution centers consolidate shipments. Supply ships deliver those goods in massive, predictable loads. Retail specialists onboard track demand, maintain inventory, and uphold pricing standards. Every step is documented and aligned to the overarching goal: keep prices fair, predictable, and free from the exploitative spikes that can happen in isolated markets. Their short-term profit models, once a source of predictable returns, were a flimsy curtain before the storm. The product mix has evolved to reflect modern sailor life, but the commitment to land-equivalent prices has not changed. Even with inflation and global supply fluctuations, the Navy exchange system shields sailors from the full brunt of economic shifts. Because contracts are negotiated well in advance, short-term spikes in wholesale prices rarely hit ship shelves immediately. When adjustments do happen, they are often phased in gradually, softening the impact. The Navy's sheer buying power and long-term agreements allow it to ride out turbulence that would send smaller retailers scrambling to reprice goods overnight. In the rare cases where items are sourced locally during port calls, Nexcom's oversight still applies. Goods brought aboard are priced in line with Navy standards, not the sometimes inflated prices found in tourist-heavy port markets. Ultimately, the reason prices remain consistent on a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier store is the fusion of centralized control, efficient logistics, and a mission-driven ethos. It is not just about matching a number on a price tag. It is about maintaining fairness, supporting morale, and ensuring that every sailor, regardless of where the ship is in the world, knows exactly what to expect when they step up to the counter. In the middle of the ocean, surrounded by steel and sea, that predictability is more than convenience. It is a small but vital anchor to the life they have left ashore. A reminder that even far from home, some things stay the same. In the middle of an endless blue horizon, two massive warships close the gap between them until their steel hulls loom just tens of meters apart. Both are moving, steady, deliberate, unbroken by the ocean's swell. One is an aircraft carrier, a floating city with thousands of crew. The other is a supply ship, heavy with fuel, food, and the everyday essentials that keep that city alive. This is underway replenishment, UNREP for short, a high-stakes choreography of steel, cables, helicopters, and human precision. Life on a carrier does not pause because it is far from port. The crew needs to eat, shower, shave, clean, and unwind. The store on board is where sailors grab snacks between shifts, pick up soap and toothpaste, or buy a cold soda after a long watch. With thousands of people on board, those shelves empty fast. Without UNREP, the morale and daily comfort of the crew would erode long before the fuel tanks ran dry or the weapons magazines needed reloading. These supply runs are not just logistical, they are survival and stability wrapped into one. The process begins long before the ships draw near. At a prearranged time and location, the carrier and the supply ship begin maneuvering into position. The rendezvous point is chosen for calm seas when possible, but the Navy trains for every condition, from gentle swells to rough chop. The speed is set, usually between 12 and 16 knots, fast enough for steering stability, but slow enough to manage delicate transfers. The distance between hulls narrows to a span, where you can see the expressions on the other crew's faces. close enough that a misjudgment could scrape steel against steel, but controlled with the precision of a surgeon's hand. Two main methods drive the resupply: connected replenishment, conrep, and vertical replenishment, vertrep. In conrep, thick steel cables are fired or ferried between the ships. Once secured, a series of pulley systems called span wires are tensioned, running parallel between the two moving giants. From these, pallets laden with supplies are sent sliding across the gap, each transfer timed to the roll of the sea. This is where the choreography becomes most obvious. The supply ship's winch operators and the carrier's receiving crews work in perfect sync, transferring thousands of pounds of cargo without a single misstep. Vertrep adds an aerial dimension. Helicopters lift off from the supply ship's deck, carrying pallets suspended beneath them. They fly low and steady across the narrow band of ocean, hovering just above the carrier's deck before lowering the load with precision. This method bypasses the need for the ships to be perfectly aligned and allows for deliveries even in less than ideal sea states. On high-demand days, both conrep and vertrep happen simultaneously, maximizing the flow of supplies. Fuel moves in parallel with solid cargo. Massive hoses snake between ships, pumping tens of thousands of gallons of fuel oil or jet fuel while the dry goods flow overhead. It is a logistical two-step, the lifeblood of the ship's engines and aircraft filling below, while its crew's daily necessities glide across above. The combined operation can last hours, each phase planned down to the minute to keep both vessels moving safely. Once the pallets hit the carrier's deck, a new race begins. Forklifts and supply handlers swarm the cargo, peeling off shrink wrap, breaking down loads, and sending items to their destinations. Bulk items go straight to storerooms. High-demand products destined for the store are routed directly to retail spaces. Timing matters. The sooner the goods are stocked, the sooner the crew sees the shelves filled again. In a shipboard community where small comforts mean a lot, the sight of a restocked snack section can light up the mood across hundreds of sailors. The teams that make this possible are a blend of logistics officers, retail specialists, and deck crews. Logistics officers track inventory levels and prioritize what comes aboard first. Retail specialists know exactly which products disappear fastest: chips, instant noodles, deodorant, and make sure they are ordered in sufficient quantities. Deck crews execute the physical labor, securing lines, operating cranes, and moving pallets in a seamless flow. Every sailor in the chain knows their role, because in unrep, hesitation is the enemy. The risks are real. A sudden swell can swing a suspended pallet like a wrecking ball. A parted fuel hose can spill hundreds of gallons before valves are slammed shut. A helicopter load can twist in high winds, forcing pilots to abort a drop. That is why unrep is drilled relentlessly. The same steps are repeated until they are instinct. So when the unexpected happens, the crew reacts instantly. The payoff is enormous. A single unrep can transfer hundreds of tons of goods and millions of gallons of fuel, enabling the carrier to stay on station for weeks or months without returning to port. It is what makes a carrier strike group a truly global force, self-sustaining, mobile, and ready to project power anywhere. For the crew, it means the store stays open, the coffee pot never runs dry, and morale stays buoyant through long deployments. Behind the precision of unrep is a deeper truth. This operation is about keeping a warship alive in every sense of the word. Without it, an aircraft carrier's endurance would be measured not in months, but in days. The ability to restock fuel, food, and daily essentials while underway turns the vast, empty ocean into a highway of constant support. It allows the carrier to keep its air wing launching, its crew working, and its mission rolling without a pause. When the last pallet is secured, the last fuel hose disconnected, and the ships ease apart, the operation leaves no trace on the water. But inside the carrier, the impact is immediate and visible. Storerooms brim. The store's shelves are lined with fresh goods, and the crew returns to their routines, knowing that life at sea will go on uninterrupted. Unrep is not just a supply run. It is the heartbeat that keeps the carrier alive far from shore, one carefully timed delivery at a time. On a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier, life is built around precision, repetition, and duty. Every square foot serves a purpose. Every action follows a schedule, and every day can blur into the next. For thousands of sailors deployed for months at sea, the environment is engineered for mission success, not comfort. That is why the appearance of something small, unexpected, and indulgent can feel disproportionately powerful. These are not tactical tools or operational necessities. They are what the crew calls luxuries. Not because they are extravagant in the civilian sense, but because in a place where every resource is planned for utility, anything that goes beyond need stands out as a gift. Ice cream is perhaps the most famous of these luxuries. On land, it is just another grocery store item. On a carrier, it is the rarest treat in the mess line. It is cold, sweet, and fleeting, stored in limited quantities and served only on special days or after major operations. Sailors will talk about Ice Cream Day with the kind of anticipation civilians reserve for holidays. It is not just dessert, it is a reminder that the ship's leadership understands morale. Premium coffee and specialty drinks fill a similar role for a different kind of sailor. Some carriers have Starbucks-style coffee stands, staffed by trained sailors who can serve lattes, cappuccinos, and cold brews. These are not mission-essential beverages, but they are sensory bridges back to home. The smell of fresh espresso, the hiss of steamed milk, the feel of a real paper cup in your hand. They all create a micro-escape from the metal, machinery, and constant hum of a carrier's interior. For sailors working nights or long flight deck shifts, this becomes a small ritual that breaks up the fatigue cycle. Their industrial-scale meals, once a source of predictable calories, were a flimsy curtain before the indulgence. Then there are specialty snacks and treats, the candy bars, chocolates, chips, or nostalgic snack packs that appear in the ship's store or vending machines. Their value is amplified by scarcity. Stocks are limited, and once a shipment runs out, it might be weeks or months before it is replenished. Sailors will buy extra to stash away, trading them later for other coveted goods, or simply keeping them as a personal morale reserve for rough days. A Snickers bar on a carrier is not just sugar and peanuts. It is a tangible link to civilian life. Navy-branded souvenirs and clothing fall into a different category of luxury: pride and identity. Limited edition patches, hoodies, t-shirts, and caps specific to the ship's deployment or air wing are not just souvenirs. They are badges of belonging. They tell the story of where you have been and what you have done. Some designs are created in small batches and never repeated, making them collectibles among the crew. Wearing a USS Gerald R. Ford cruise hoodie, for example, is more than casual dress. It is a personal banner of service in a rare and demanding environment. Small electronics beyond essentials also enter the luxury tier. Personal gadgets, a new pair of high-quality headphones, a compact speaker, a handheld gaming console, fall into the want, not need category. These devices offer entertainment, privacy, and an escape from the operational tempo. A pair of noise-canceling headphones can turn a noisy berthing area into a personal bubble. A Nintendo Switch can make an 18-hour off-duty block feel like a vacation day. On land, these might be common items. On a carrier, they are coveted possessions that get guarded carefully. The reason these items feel like luxuries is the stark contrast with the baseline environment. A carrier is designed for endurance, not indulgence. The standard day involves strict routines, constant noise from engines and machinery, tight living quarters, and limited privacy. There is no running to the store, no delivery services, no spontaneous night out. Every comfort item has to be stored, rationed, and distributed with care. When a sailor gets something outside the norm, it stands out like a flare in the dark. Military psychologists have noted that small, morale-focused perks can have outsized effects on performance, cohesion, and resilience. Ice cream days or coffee kiosks do not just deliver calories. They deliver moments of personal choice and pleasure in an environment where most decisions are made for you. A luxury item, no matter how small, says, "We see you as more than just your role. You are a person here." Scarcity magnifies value. When the ship's store announces a fresh stock of premium snacks, or a new run of deployment patches, word travels fast. Sailors will line up, and items often sell out within hours. This scarcity fuels not just personal enjoyment, but also a small, onboard economy. Trades, gifts, and IOUs built around who has what and who can get more. In this way, luxuries also become social tools, strengthening bonds between crewmates. There is also a ceremonial aspect to certain luxuries. Ice cream might be rolled out to celebrate a mission milestone, premium coffee offered during holiday mornings, or special clothing issued at the end of a deployment. These tie the luxury directly to shared achievements, creating a layered memory, not just of the treat itself, but of the moment it marked. The economics of these luxuries are different at sea. A $5 coffee on land might be a casual purchase. On a carrier, it can feel like an investment in your own sanity. The same goes for a $20 hoodie or a $2 candy bar. The actual dollar value is less important than the relief, comfort, and identity they bring in a place where everything else is dictated by mission and necessity. These comforts also serve as a bridge between the carrier and the outside world. Navy-branded merchandise ties sailors to the larger Navy culture. Specialty snacks connect them to civilian consumer culture. Each luxury, in its own way, shrinks the distance between the middle of the ocean and home. On a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier, the ocean is not the only thing that separates people. Rank does too, even in something as ordinary as grabbing a snack or replacing a bottle of shampoo. The experience can be radically different depending on whether you are an enlisted sailor or an officer. The difference is not about who is allowed and who is not. Both can use the ship's store. It is about where, how, and under what conditions that access happens. Those details reveal an entire culture built on hierarchy, tradition, and the practical need to keep 5,000 people living and working in harmony aboard a floating city. For enlisted sailors, the ship's store is part of their daily rhythm. It is centrally located, accessible to the bulk of the crew, and open around the clock because their work schedules never really stop. The line might be long, especially during shift changes, but it is one of the few places where they can buy small comforts. These stores are functional. No-frills spaces designed to serve thousands. They are an extension of enlisted life, shared, busy, and full of the noise and motion that define life in berthing areas and the mess decks. Officers, by contrast, live in a different physical and social environment. Their quarters, officer country, are located away from enlisted berthing, quieter and more private. They eat in the wardroom, a dining space that serves better quality meals with table service and a more formal atmosphere. That separation extends into their store experience. Officers can use the same ship store as enlisted personnel, but they often avoid the crowds by accessing smaller, less busy points of sale within officer country, or by arranging purchases through the ship's supply channels. Their logistics, once a simple problem of distribution, became a monument to a system of elegant separation. On large carriers, the wardroom's mess officer can order specialty items, from preferred coffee brands to unique condiments that do not appear in the general ship store. This is not just about comfort. It is about maintaining the Navy's long-standing boundaries between officers and enlisted personnel. Those boundaries are not arbitrary. They are meant to prevent fraternization, preserve the chain of command, and ensure professionalism. The store becomes one more point where that structure is reflected. A single service, two distinct experiences. The enlisted sailor is more likely to stand in a long line with a cross-section of the ship's workforce. The officer is more likely to browse in a quieter space or receive items directly through wardroom supply. The living arrangements reinforce these differences. Enlisted berthing can hold dozens of people with stacked racks and minimal personal space. Trips to the store are often group events, a chance to get off the work deck for a few minutes, see friends from other divisions, and grab a snack before returning to duty. For officers, whose staterooms might be shared with only one or two others, or even be private for senior ranks, store visits are more solitary and less about socializing. Their schedules and movements are also shaped by leadership responsibilities, so convenience is more than a luxury. It is a necessity. Food access is a telling example. Enlisted sailors eat in the mess decks. where menus are standardized and designed to feed thousands efficiently. The store supplements that with extra options. Officers, eating in the wardroom, already have more variety and higher quality meals. When they buy from the store, it is less about survival of the palate and more about personal preferences. The store is just another quiet corner of their controlled environment. The contrast mirrors the broader difference in their daily lives. One group lives in the collective hum of shared duty, the other in the more insulated atmosphere of command. The separation in store access also ties directly into how the Navy handles personal services. Enlisted sailors do their own laundry and ironing, often in crowded laundry spaces that run on tight schedules. The store sells laundry detergent, extra socks, and other essentials they manage themselves. Officers may have laundry and ironing handled for them, freeing up time and making their store purchases more about comfort than necessity. That changes the psychology of the store visit. For enlisted personnel, it is often about solving a need. For officers, it is about adding a convenience. Rank influences not just where you go, but what you can get. The ability for officers to request specialty items through the mess or supply channels means their access extends beyond what is visible on the shelves. For enlisted sailors, the ship store is the limit of their at-sea retail world. For officers, it is just one node in a broader network of provisioning options. The Navy's reasoning for this separation is rooted in centuries of tradition. Ships have always had distinctions between officers and crew. On a carrier, with its massive population and complex operations, those distinctions are not just symbolic, they are operational. If everyone had identical access to every amenity, lines would be unmanageable, spaces overcrowded, and the risk of informal fraternization higher. By structuring store access along rank lines, the Navy maintains order while meeting the needs of each group. Even so, the differences are not absolute walls. Officers sometimes shop alongside enlisted sailors, especially when their own supply channels cannot meet a specific need. And enlisted sailors, through merit or promotion, can eventually cross that line and experience the other side. In that way, the store is also a reminder of the Navy's career ladder. Privileges expand with rank, and what feels out of reach today can become standard tomorrow. There is also a psychological dimension. For enlisted sailors, the store can be a rare place of choice in a life defined by orders. Picking out a snack or brand of shampoo is a small assertion of individuality. For officers, that sense of autonomy is already built into their role. The store is less about freedom and more about maintaining personal comfort. That difference in meaning is subtle but powerful, and it shapes how each group values the experience. In a way, the store is a microcosm of the carrier itself. One ship, shared mission, but clearly defined worlds within it. The separation in access is not about superiority for its own sake, but about sustaining the Navy's delicate balance of hierarchy, professionalism, and efficiency. The result is two parallel experiences. The enlisted sailor heads to a bustling store that serves as both supply point and social hub, stocking up for the next long shift. The officer makes a quick, quiet visit or places an order through the wardroom, returning to a private stateroom and an exclusive dining space. Both are part of the same ship, the same mission, the same chain of command. But their paths through something as ordinary as shopping at sea are shaped by the rank on their collar and the traditions of the service they serve.